Arizona football gets the recruit that is wanted, and one of the biggest recruits in program history, and certainly the biggest of the Brent Brennan era.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. Locked On, your team every day. A special episode that we have going now for the University of Arizona. And the first thing that I need to talk about is Oscar Rios, my guy. This is a big-time commitment for the University of Arizona. Now, they call him sometimes Oscar because of the offense. But anyways, Oscar Rios, this is a big-time addition. We got to give Brent Brennan a lot of credit, and we're going to break down his skill set, what's next, all of that. But first and foremost, this is a player that's a top 150 player in the country. Those players generally don't come to the University of Arizona. As a matter of fact, they never come to the University of Arizona. But again, you've got to give Seth Doege a huge amount of credit on this one. And I think the thing that you look at and you kind of wonder about Seth Doege is, where exactly then does this land in the grand scheme of things? Because you got Noah Fifita, and Doege comes in here, and he clearly wants to have a good quarterback. He clearly wants to have his quarterback, and Oscar Rios is that guy. Now, you look at him, he's about 6'3", and he's a sprite little guy. He's about probably 175, 180 pounds, something like that. He is but again, you read the Greg Biggins write-up, this dude's good. This guy's good. He can wing the ball. He's got a very, very good deep ball. And when he sets there, when he paces, he's good to go. And there is like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on there, but he is impressive. So that's kind of where I look at it, and that's kind of where I'm kind of impressed as well. Now, how is he going to fit in? You got to figure that, listen, he's got another year, obviously, and then he's getting in here. You got to figure it's going to take him a little bit of time because he's just really skinny. Now, again, he can continue to get stronger, no doubt about that. But, like I said, when you're dealing with guys like that, a lot of times it's going to take a little bit of time because playing, the Downey schedule as opposed to playing against, in the Power 4 schedule, that's totally different. So you have to, like I said, you have to throw that one. You have to throw that one in there, and I think that's an interesting part in all of this. So there's obviously that. Now, when it comes to what his skill set is, he can do a variety of things, and I think one thing that we've been able to find with Seth Doege and how he goes about recruiting, people is how they go about recruiting things is, where exactly then are you when he steps foot on campus? Noah Fifita obviously is very, very good. Now with Noah Fifita, the one thing that I look at him and I say to myself that I've got to really like about him is that I think that with a coach that knows what he's doing, I think Noah's going to thrive. Duh. But I think it's also something, too, where you look at and you're just kind of like, all right, well, we got to take that. We got to see what that next move is. How's he going to do with a smaller quarterback? Noah's obviously a smaller quarterback at about 5'7", 5'7", whatever the case may be. He is, but I think obviously that's not an ideal height. It'll be interesting to see what Doege is able to get out of this and then what he is able to put forward. But you look at Oscar Rios, and he's a legitimate 6'3", and he is, like I said, and he can wing the ball. So, and I think, you look at Daege's track record when he was at Marshall. The one thing that he had was he had guys that could, he got there, and the quarterback was not able to exactly, hold his own some of the time. And so what he was able to do was he was able to get out there and he was able to say, all right, well, we're going to have to run the ball here. And I think that's, something that when you look at him, you're like, okay, I get it. Cool. And that's exactly what he was able to do. And I think that's why people are so attracted to the possibilities of what Doege can do, because he has been so he has been so unique in his ability to be able to just kind of get players out there and be able to put them in the right spots. And as we know with an offensive coordinator, we saw that last year with Dino Babers, it's not necessarily about just the talent. It's about being able to put them in the positions to succeed. Now, what are those positions to succeed, and how can we actually get the most out of those? But first, FanDuel, my friends. FanDuel, check it out. FanDuel. Okay, summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? Put money down. With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. That is the fun part about it. Make some money. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even more regular season games feel like even more exciting as you are there. New to FanDuel, here's the deal. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Again, FanDuel, make some money. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit about what that next step is then for Oscar Rios and about how this goes. You got to be able to put a line in there that's going to protect him. Now, having a guy that can run around a lot, that is a big thing. That is a very, very good thing for the University of Arizona. But you got to be able to have a line, and I think that's going to be huge. Now, are you going to get 5-star kids? Probably not. I'm not going to sit here and say that you are, but Jed Fish showed the blueprint. Jed Fish showed the blueprint that you can win by getting high-level 3-star guys that you mold, that you develop into players, that you can get low 4-star players that you're like, all right, they just need a little bit of tweaking here and there, and then they're good to go. Fish showed it. Again, I know Fish is a bad name, and I think he's a scumbag, but Jed Fish did some pretty good things while he was at the University of Arizona, so I got to give him that. But that's going to be the next thing. You got to find guys like Jonas Savanea. You got to find guys like Wendell Moy. You got to find guys, that can fit in there and that can do what you need to do at this point. Now the other thing too that we need to talk about then is this, what does this mean for the Brent Brennan era? And I think with the Brent Brennan era, the thing that you got to be incredibly excited about is, the thing about the Brent Brennan era is you got to be incredibly excited about what is that, like I said, what's that, you get this 4-star QB that could go pretty much anywhere. That's a sign of good things to come generally because, well, I mean, it is. You watch Rios, and, Rios had a lot of different options. Brent Brennan was able to get him here. Obviously, Seth Doege played a big part of that, but that was a big part of it. Now, can he start getting some other guys to come in? Because generally, if you got a 4-star quarterback, all of a sudden wide receivers start looking at you a little bit different. Wide receivers start looking at you a little bit different. You also see, running backs. Although, like I said, I don't really worry about that. With Alonzo Carter, with Alonzo Carter and with Bobby Wade, I think that those skill spots are going to be just fine for the U of A. I don't really worry about that one at all. So there's obviously that. Now, the other thing, too, is that we got to talk about then is, holding on to him. This is not going to be an easy thing, but in this day and age, like I said, Kenny Dillingham has done a great job at ASU. I mean, there's really no way around it. Kenny Dillingham's done a great job. I don't really agree with the whole philosophy, though, of, if you commit and then you take a visit, we're dropping you. If you get good players, you're going to have to continue to recruit to hold on to them. That's just the way it is. Maybe if you're a school like Bama or something, but if you're Arizona, you don't have that kind of gravitas, nor does ASU, but who knows? I mean, Dillingham's a lot smarter guy than I am, but Rios is going to be recruited until the end. Now, I do like one of the schools that a lot of people were looking at was Auburn, and Auburn was a school that, like I said, you don't really like that SEC money, a lot of hype, but the fact that Auburn is not in the fact that Auburn is that is basically just took a Penn State guy, that leads me to believe that Arizona is going to be just fine with Rios. But like I said, some people are going to come offering more money, and I think there are a few lessons of the past that we could probably learn going forward here. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we have got a lot to get to on the rest of this show as well. So the other thing, the other thing too that we need to talk about is where is Arizona in, as far as, holding on to some of these recruits, because the staff, I think, just listen, guys are going to come after good players, but the staff has to know. Like I said, Terry Shelton, I think they were a little bit blindsided by because, like I said, I think he was, I was telling people he's probably going to decommit for a while, and I don't think they really saw that one. Robinson last year, another one. McDaniel was one that I think they saw, but you're going to have to hold on to these guys. You're going to have to spend time. You're going to have to spend money being able to get these guys. So there's obviously that. So the other thing too that I look at is where is the so what does this mean then for Arizona? In Southern California, you got to be able to recruit in Southern California. Arizona's pipeline is going to be Southern California and Northern California. Obviously, Alonzo Carter is known very well in Northern California, and like I said a million times, they're going to be able to recruit guys. Not only are they going to be able to recruit guys, they're going to be able to put guys out there that are at that wide receiver spot that are going to be good. I think you're going to see this year that between somebody like a Luke Wise song, players like that, you're going to be able to see. You're going to be able to see some stuff. So, like I said, you already bring back Chris Hunter. Javon Watley, I think, could be an NFL player. This staff, one thing I got to give this staff is I think they've shown a pretty good ability to be able to get out ahead on a lot of these recruiting rankings. The problem, though, is, like I said, when these guys blow up, then you got to have a plan for them. And Arizona's NIL is not great when it comes to football. It's okay. It's not great. But also, got to give DRF a lot of credit here. It looks like she's done a really, really good job of balancing out Arizona's financial budget, and I think that's obviously a very good thing for the University of Arizona. So that makes things a little easier. But, this is an all-in year for Brennan, and I think with Seth Doege, I think the thing that's exciting about Seth Doege is how do I put this? When I watch him, he's somebody that he's very, very good, like I said, but the thing about him, too, is that you can adapt. And I think this year you're going to see something that's going to be very enticing for a quarterback-friendly situation. You're going to see them adapt. And, like I said, sometimes it'll be run, sometimes it'll be pass, but they're looking to get the ball out of there, and they're looking to get the ball out of there quickly. So, let's get ahead a little bit. Let's get ahead a little bit then to the QBs on the roster. Listen, I like the kid they got out of Texas. I think he's pretty good. Tyler Haugo, I never really see playing here at the U of A. But so I look at it and I look at this roster. Lockheed's going to be the backup, but I think Noah's going to be that guy. I think Noah's going to be the guy. Lockheed's going to be the backup, and then I think Sawyer is probably somebody that in the wings, maybe that long-term guy at some point. We shall see. I'm not exactly sure how that plays out, but it will be interesting to see because there are a lot of options there. But like I said, you got to give Tommy Lloyd. You got to give Brent Brennan and his staff a lot of credit because again, Rios is a huge commitment. I mean, he's a top 150 kid. Arizona worked really hard for him, and again, you also got to give Seth Doege a lot of credit here. What Seth Doege has been able to do has been absolutely outstanding, and not only has it been absolutely outstanding, it's been something that you watch and you're just kind of like, all right, this is going to be something that's going to be a lot of fun to watch as this all does unfold. Okay, now, coming back with us on Monday, we're going to talk more about this, obviously. We're also going to talk about Arizona basketball recruiting. We got some new news, and we got some stuff interesting enough that's come across the wire that I don't think a lot of people foresaw happening. But on that note, Very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Locked On, your team every day. We'll be back with you tomorrow. TTFN, ta-ta for now.